Hello, everyone, and welcome to your weekly astrology forecast for the week of April 7th through the 13th. This is a big week. The planets are starting to station to go direct, and we have a full moon in the sign of Libra. And so, this is the week where there might be a pivot point where you get the information that you've been desiring, that you've been needing, or maybe that you don't desire, but you need it to move forward. And yeah, it's a releasing point. There's some conclusion to a story. Collectively, I think we are at a huge pivot point within the collective. And so let's get into it. How are y'all doing? I've been reflecting a lot during this Venus and Mercury retrograde. A part of me feels so grateful to be alive and awakened, and I don't think I've ever felt more connected to myself and to everybody around me. My relationships are really solid. And I just see this world in such a different way than I have even like 3 years ago. But at the same time, when you awaken and you educate yourself, the more you know, the more you realize just how, I don't even know if I'm allowed to say the F word, fucked up everything is, how evil some people can be. I think that colonization is a demonic frequency. And I think that the more you realize that, the more you realize, oh, wow, everything in our culture and system is embedded with that. And so there's this duality that is playing out. And I think it's really reflective in the astrology of being grateful and being in the present moment and knowing that time is not linear and we are all doing our best. And also this other side of it, which is tremendous amounts of grief and mourning and just shock at what is going on in the world. I mean, it's not just obviously here in the United States with people losing their jobs, people also just crashing out. I think when you have that awakening moment and you realize how it when it starts to affect you, then you start to realize, oh wow, this has been going on for a really long time. So I'm, as always, I am here to be a guide, and I'm very much an optimist, and I believe in the potential of our gifts and our talents and just doing your role, and to remember that we are all here at this time for a reason. So if you're a doom and gloom person, that is not me, and I'm not ever going to be a doom and gloom person. But at the same time, I'm always going to give it to you real, because we are multidimensional beings. There is a soul part of us that is infinite, that is loving, that is connected to source, that is unconditional love. But then we have the human part of us that keeps us safe, and we are oftentimes blocked by our own fears, ancestrally, intergenerationally, culturally, and in all the ways. And just as a disclaimer, I sometimes forget to say this in the beginning of every video, but I just don't understand astrologers or spiritual practitioners who don't say they're political. I am very political. You will know exactly where I stand on issues. And I just want to make it very clear so that I'm not wasting your time. You're not wasting my time. So this is your moment to click away or find another astrologer who doesn't talk about real shit that people are going through. And I just think that to not call it what it is, especially since now we have receipts, like there's social media, there's podcasts, there's YouTube. And years from now, when we look back at this time and the people who didn't speak up, I mean, that is all recorded stuff. So, yes, free Palestine as always. And I guess let's do a little recap, shall we? Ever since Neptune ingressed into the sign of Aries, which was on March 30th, it has just been so loud, this topic of leadership. So during this time, Trump said that he would run a third presidency. If you don't know, this is Trump's second time in office. The first time he was elected in 2016, he began his first presidency 2017, which I think is a interesting synchronicity to this time because in 2017 when he was inaugurated in January of that year, that was when Venus was in its shadow period, and Venus was retrograde in the sign of Aries between March and April of that year. And actually, I really remember that time because that was my first march that I've ever been to in DC, the Women's March. We wore the pink pussy hats. And that was also the year that I quit my job. And that was the year that I really, I guess, started to awaken to the things of this world. And so 8 years later, now Venus is retrograde in the signs of Aries and Pisces. Trump is he is in his second presidency. And there was a big march, multiple marches that happened this past weekend. In DC, it was the march against or blocking ICE, and throughout the United States, the hands off protesting Elon Musk and Donald Trump. Everything is protesting this administration. So I just thought that was an interesting synchronicity with Trump being in office and also the protests that are going on. And ultimately, my personal opinion is that Donald Trump is doing his role in the revolution. He is doing it very well, actually. And we oftentimes think of revolutionaries or your role in revolution as being for the people, but he is just playing out his role. And actually, I believe he's expediting timelines. I've said this before, and I know that's controversial and not everybody likes that, but look at how many people since he has been in office, which is like not even 3 months, have been affected by his layoffs, by his policies, and now who have become more active in politics and who have started speaking up. I mean, in my own family, I've seen people who have never said anything about anything start to say something or start to become active because their jobs were on the line. And I really, it annoys me when that happens because it's like we're all human. We should all care about each other. It shouldn't have to affect you, but that's just what happens. That's just what needs to happen sometimes. So I thought that was interesting. And then on April 4th, which was just 2 days ago, the Korean president, or now former President Yoon, was impeached. And this is following the Mars cycle when Mars was stationing to go to, retrograde in December. I think it was December 4th or December 5th. No, it was December 6th. It was December 6th of 2024. But on December 4th, was when President Yoon declared martial law. And now, ending this Mars retrograde cycle, he is officially impeached. So there will be a shift in leadership there. And on April 28th, Canada, for all my Canadians out there, they're going to have an election because the second time when Mars opposing Pluto back in January 3rd, Justin Trudeau announced he was going to step down as prime minister. So wait, let me repeat that again. On January 3rd, we had the second Mars and Pluto opposition between Mars and Leo opposite Pluto in Aquarius. The first time was back in November 3rd, right before the US election, and it was between Mars in Cancer and Pluto in Capricorn at the 29th anaretic degree. Now we're talking about January, which was the second time. On January 7th, so this is 4 days after that opposition, Justin Trudeau announced that he was going to step down. And then on April 28th, Canada will have its election. And this will be after 2 days after the Mars and Pluto opposition, the third and final time when both Mars and Pluto are direct. Um, Mark Carney is the liberal ticket, and Pierre, oh my God, I'm totally going to butcher this French. Pierre Poilievre is the conservative candidate. So let's look out for that. It's interesting, though, that this is also coming at the heels of Trump's tariffs and Trump saying that he wants to annex Canada and Greenland. So it'll be interesting as a reaction to Trump's policies. We'll see how Canada votes. So, yeah, I think like between the Mars and Pluto oppositions, that is always an opposition that speaks about power dynamics. And also with Neptune moving into the sign of Aries, that's also leadership. And so I think leadership around the world is going to shift and change based on, I believe revolution, there's a spark to revolution. And we see that, we have seen that in the past with history, with the last time Pluto was in Aquarius during the Age of Revolution, each revolution sparked the other. So the American Revolution sparked the French sparked the Haitian, and the and vice versa. And I've been studying revolutions. If there are revolutions in other places in the world that have happened during the same time, I'm sure there is, but it's always the people of the global majority or the global south, like Haiti, where the histories get erased. So it's been really frustrating for me and really challenging because I don't always want to report on the revolution and the POV of the oppressed then becoming the colonizer, the oppressed becoming the oppressor. I want to have other revolutions around the world also in my awareness. So if you know of any, please let me know in the comment section. So, yeah, there's a lot going on in this world, but I'll always try to bring it back to you personally. So, like I mentioned, this week is a big one. Last week was, I personally believe it was the sweetest week of April. And so, if you had a rough week, that might be saying a lot for what's to come. But we start off this week with the moon in Leo, which is always about courage and bravery and creative expression. And we are in a waxing phase of the moon because we had a solar eclipse in Aries and we're building the light and energy towards the full moon in Libra. Now, April 7th, right off the bat, which is a Monday, Mercury will station direct at 26 degrees in Pisces. And so Mercury and Venus are going to be direct in your Pisces house and really putting the focus of your Pisces house. And this has been a common theme since, I would say, even January. January was when all these planets started to come into your Pisces house. And the North Node being there is, you're going to really understand you're going to get really cozy and familiar with your Pisces house, which is all about connecting to your divinity, your spirituality, and connecting to the divine source within and knowing that we are all connected to each other. I mean, have you ever heard of mirror neurons? Like, there's no way that you can, if you are a connected, empathetic human being, there's no way that you can move about this world and not feel the immense change that is happening in this world. So, with that being said, since Mercury is going direct, I wanted to read this little paragraph from Audre Lorde's book. This collection of Audre Lorde's work. I love her work so much, and the title of this essay is called "The Transformation of Silence into Language and Action." And if you remember at the beginning of this retrograde, Mercury and Venus were in the sign of Aries, and Aries is ruled by Mars, the planet of action. So I'm going to read a little paragraph and then another one, but they're not connected. So here we go. What are the words you do not yet have? What do you need to say? What are the tyrannies you swallow day by day and attempt to make your own until you will sicken and die of them, still in silence? We can learn to work and speak when we are afraid in the same way we have learned to work and speak when we are tired. For we have been socialized to respect fear more than our own needs for language and definition. And while we wait in silence for that final luxury of fearlessness, the weight of that silence will choke us. So I love her essay on the transformation of silence into language and action because so many people say to me, you're such an amazing activist. You're using your platform to speak out, and for me, in the beginning, when I started talking about things that mattered, when I started speaking about things like Black Lives Matter and just like human rights in general, right? Of course, I was scared. I was scared, but courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is feeling the fear and doing it anyway. Courage is having a shaky voice and literally shaking. When I first started making videos on the internet, it was 2018, and I used to break out in hives, and I used to, like, my videos were so long because I would go off on these tangents because I just needed to practice, quite frankly. And that was 2018. So now it's been 7 years, a Saturn square. So it's just taken practice and continually showing up and continually doing the thing that makes me scared. And so I just want to encourage you that whether it is speaking up about what's going on in the world, our human rights are at stake, our First Amendment rights are at stake, whether it's expressing your creative talents, your gifts, your desires, if you want to tell somebody that you caught feels for them, if you have feelings for somebody, or I don't know, whatever it is that scares you, I encourage you to step in and lock in, as the kids say, and just do it, even if your voice is shaking, even if it's like the most terrifying thing, because the more you do it, the more you realize it's not scary at all. It's your belief that, and your perception of other people's judgment on you, when in fact everybody's just worrying about themselves. And even if they said stuff to you, it's like, well, are you saying anything? Are you doing the thing? Probably not. So that is my Mercury stationing direct at 26 degrees in Pisces advice, because yes, Mercury is not in a great place in Pisces, but it will go over the steps that it did during the retrograde. And so if you have regretted saying something or not saying something, this is your chance. On the same day, Venus retrograde will conjunct Saturn at 25 degrees in Pisces. So a lot of this is happening in the third decan of Pisces, the 10 of Cups. So this is like what might be holding you back from your ultimate wish, your ultimate happiness, is taking action, is being bold. And this conjunction will bring you back to January 18th, and it'll happen a final time on April 24th when Venus will go direct. So, yeah, Venus conjunct Saturn is a commitment of some kind. It could also be, Saturn is the planet of no. You could realize that a relationship or a situation or a contract is not going to go in the way that you wanted. So now it's time to break free. Now it's time to go a different direction. Or on the opposite end, it could be you want to commit to something, commit to someone for the long term. Saturn is the long term maturation. And this has a serious tone, even though I do think that Venus ultimately has the final say, since Venus is exalted in Pisces. This has a more realistic tone, I'll put it that way. That's all on Monday. So then on April 8th, the moon will enter Virgo. So you might feel compelled to clean or get things organized. in the home space or the space that reside in, like an office space or whatever. Venus retrograde in Pisces will sextile Uranus and Taurus at 25 degrees. Again, 25, 26 degrees, 27. It's a hot spot this week. Um, and this will bring you back to January 26th, and it'll happen one more time on April 20th when Venus goes direct. I really like Venus when it's sextile Uranus because it's like Venus wants to change, Venus wants to take a risk, Venus wants to attract something that's maybe different or new. Uranus is the planet of awakening, revolution, revelation, aha moments, and also could be technology. Venus, again, is exalted in Pisces, but it is still retrograde. So Venus in retrograde connecting with Uranus again here in a sextile, which is a 60-degree angle. It's harmonious at the end of the day, is maybe rethinking something. During this Venus and Mercury retrograde, for me personally, I've just been reflecting and really nostalgic of the past. It like almost hurts my heart in a little bit because yesterday I was looking through old photo albums and old yearbooks and notes from friends I used to have. And I can even like smell the smells of that time. Certain songs too can bring me back to an era of my life where I'm just like, wow, to be so oblivious, right? It's like the Matrix movie, the red or blue pill, and you're just like thinking like, why did I take that pill? I don't remember which is which. Why did I take it? But again, it's this feeling of just remembering back to a time when maybe you were happier or more nostalgic or whatever the case may be. But when Venus meets up with Uranus, it's like, I need a change. I need to shake things up. We cannot keep going the way we're going. So on April 10th, Mercury in Pisces will conjunct the North Node in Pisces at 27 degrees. And this day, later on in the day, the moon will officially enter Libra. So I usually don't report on the North Node aspects, but I thought it was really important that now that Mercury is direct, and the very next day on April 11th, Mars and Cancer will trine the North Node in Pisces. I think it's really important that both Mercury, which is the planet of communication, it is the magician, right? In tarot, it will connect with the North Node in a conjunction. And then the very next day, Mars, the planet of action, will trine the North Node. So there's something about destiny here. The North Node is about, okay, so I like to think of the North Node. I like to think of the South Node as like the shore, like when you're at home and you're by the shore, but you know that you can't grow if you just stay safely at home, right? The North Node is we're going out to sea, we're going on a journey, the hero's journey, heroine's journey, whatever you want to call it. And we don't know what this trip is going to entail. We might come up with some obstacles. There's a lot of unknown, but we know that this is what our soul needs to grow. So we're going to set sail. And the best that we can do is prepare ourselves for the journey. But again, you don't know what you're really preparing for. That's kind of how I like to see the North Node. In Vedic astrology, the North Node is Rahu and the South Node is Ketu. That Rahu is the head of the dragon. So it's where the dragon eats, right? Consumes. The South Node is Ketu, where the dragon poops out what no longer serves. And so the North and South Node are not about like the North Node is better or the South Node is worse or whatever. It's more about increasing, decreasing, and integrating both so that you understand the duality. Everything in nature has a duality, like my shirt, like the yin and the yang. So what I love about Virgo being the South Node is the intelligence of listening to our bodies. It's the intelligence of, if you think about Virgo being the editor, like weeding out what it doesn't need and really focusing on the details. That's where we're coming from. That's the shore, right? What we're going towards is the unknown, is Pisces, is literally the web of consciousness and the magic that happens when you imagine and allow yourself to dream and allow yourself to get into that and that frequency again of my best days aren't behind me, but they're ahead of me. So Mercury, Mercury conjuncting the North Node, there's some download here. If you create the space to receive the download, and then Mars trine the North Node is like, let's take action on this. On April 12th, there will be a full moon in Libra at 23 degrees. So if you have the cardinal placements at in and around 23 degrees, I like to use a tight orb, but astrologers, I've heard astrologers using a 10-degree orb. That seems too big for me. So if you have the cardinal placements of Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn between 20 and 26 degrees, this full moon will definitely impact you. This happens at 8:22 p.m. Eastern time, and it will square Mars in Cancer. On the same day, Venus will station direct at 24 degrees, and Venus is the ruler of this lunation. So what's interesting about this full moon is it's the first one in Libra that's not an eclipse. So there's this lunation, this full moon is officially ending that eclipse. Well, it's officially ending the eclipse season, first of all, and it's officially ending that eclipse series until 9 years later. So I actually want to show the chart of the full moon just so you can see it. So to be honest, I think people's feelings might get hurt on this day. I just think of Libra moons as the people that cannot decide. Like Libra moons are, and I say this with peace and love, they are so indecisive because if you think about Libra being the scales and the moon is about our emotional body, Libra moons tend to not be able to decide. They're very indecisive. But I think having it square Mars will make them decide, which is why I think ultimately this is going to be a helpful moon, but I think it is going to hurt people's feelings. So right after this full moon, the moon will apply to a square to Mars in Cancer. And like I mentioned later on, the ruler of this lunation, which Venus is the ruler of Libra, is Venus in Pisces conjunct Saturn. There's like a serious tone to this as well. And I mean, basically, Venus is conjunct all of these Pisces placements. And again, the third decan of Pisces is the Ten of Cups. So I think that you're gonna, as Mercury goes direct, right, in the beginning of the week, you're gonna start to realize things. Messages might come through. You might get the information that you've been waiting for, whether you want it or not. Because I know a lot of people have been waiting to be let go of their jobs, or relationships are on the line. And so again, I think whatever the information might not be what you were expecting either, just because I think, Venus is also still in a sextile with Uranus. But because of that, because full moons are about an illumination, also, it will force you to make a decision and make moves. So there is this kind of, again, like I keep feeling like people's feelings are going to get hurt, egos are going to be bruised. But because of the nature of Venus, the ruler of this lunation going direct, it's like, okay, now I know what to do. Now I know this dude does not like me, or I got let go. That gives me the answer that I need to find another job, whatever the case may be. So I do say this as sometimes I hate when people say everything is meant to be, everything happens for a reason, because it's still like that hurts your feelings, right? Sometimes these things happen and you're not ready for them. But so I don't want to gaslight anyone's feelings in this, but just with that square between Mars and the moon, that's like it's sensitive. So yeah, I wish I had better news. I wish I was like, this is the moon, you will manifest. Oh my gosh. But it could be, once you know, and there's no turning back. So another manifestation of this is that you know, and then now you know what is not worthy of you. Whenever I hear no from the universe, I think this is not meant for me. There's something better along the way, or rejection is protection. So at least I know. And because I think clarity, not having clarity on something is like the worst thing. When someone's not being honest with you, but you can like feel through your intuition the vibe, that's the worst. I'd rather you just tell me so that we can move forward. You know what I mean? So April 12th, that is a Saturday, I believe. So let me check my notes. Yes, that's a Saturday. I mean, it's a packed week. This is a week where major things can happen. You might find out things that you've been waiting for, and nothing really to report on April 13th other than later on in the day the moon will move into Scorpio. So yeah, I hope that your week goes well. As always, stay safe, and I will see you next week. Bye.